Welcome to the first episode of 1 Month 1 Deck featuring Mega Venusaur. Thank you to everyone who voted in the poll last weekend to decide which deck to kick off this new season with. And for week 1, I started by taking my list from my old Rogue Thursday video and doing some extra research to see what other Venusaur players were testing. I tried a few of their tech options, and after plenty of ladder games, I took the updated list into a tournament where I finished 2 wins and 2 losses. Overall, the deck felt amazing. Both of my losses came from very tough matchups for us, which were Gholdengo and Dragapult Dusknoir, and here's the list that I was running so far. If you're new to Mega Venusaur, the game plan is pretty straightforward. You use Teal Mask Ogerpon to accelerate grass energy onto the field and rush into your Mega Venusaur and your Meganium so you can actually get off those quick and fast attacks while sitting on a very tanky body. As for the core cards, there's quite a few of them, so the first one that we'll get into is Mega Venusaur himself. He is your main attacker with 380 HP as well. He's super tanky, and it also lets you freely move your grass energy around the board at the same time. You also do 240 damage with his attack, which is enough to one-shot a lot of the basic EXs in the game. Now, you also have Teal Mask Ogerpon as your second core card. He's also your secondary attacker. He's able to one-shot a lot of the other high HP Pokemon in the current meta. Its Teal Dance ability accelerates energy from your hand, helping you build up your board quickly as well. Our third important card is Meganium itself. Its Wild Growth ability doubles the value of all of our grass energy on the field, letting you combo with Teal Mask to one-shot those high HP Pokemon like Dragapult. We also have Forest of Vitality as another core card. It's an amazing stadium that's very broken and based off of a even more busted stadium back in the day. It lets you instantly evolve your grass Pokemon all the way up to stage 2, except on your first turn. Now, together, these cards make up the core engine of the deck, but we also have a lot of spots for tech choices. Since we've got a bit of flexibility, I'm running a few techs that help in specific matchups. So the first combo tech that we have is Wellspring Ogerpon, along with 2 Earthen Vessels. Wellspring is a great early game attacker and a stall option at the same time. It's easy to power up, only needing a single grass and water energy if you've got a Meganium in play, and early it can take multiple prizes, and then you can also stall in some of the matchups using its Sob ability as well. So the other tech we're running is Toedscruel, a potential game changer in the Gholdengo matchup. It forces your opponent to manage their energy carefully and often draws out an early boss's order as well. We also are running Regigigas. It's our one prize answer to Terra Pokemon, especially Dragapult. It technically needs 4 energy, but with Meganium on the bench, it only requires 2. And then the last tech that I'm running is probably one of the most important, and that's Picnic Basket. I only run 1 copy, but it's an incredible lifesaver. It even won me a game during the tournament as well. Now, this is where the deck stands after week 1. It's been performing well, and I'm already seeing the potential to push Mega Venusaur into real rogue contender territory and even be able to reach that meta status. Now, and overall, I'm very happy with the list right now. And before we get into the games, if you're enjoying the video so far, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Meta Mondays, Rogue Thursdays, and my 1 Month 1 Deck series every Saturday. Alright, so game number 1, it's against a Pidgeysard, and we start off with a Bulbasaur in the active. We don't have anything on the bench. They start with the Duskull, and then they bench a Iron Bundle. They did go first. Here we top deck into an Ivysaur, which is huge, and we are just going to use one of these Nest Balls, get down a Teal Mask, and we are going to be able to cycle a card and accelerate that grass energy onto our bench. We draw into a Iono, so we're just going to get down a Chikorita with this other Nest Ball, and then I'm just going to Iono here. Yes, that was a really good hand, but we were missing the stadium to go with it, so there is a world where we should have kept it, but I wanted to see a couple more cards this turn in case we can draw into more draw spells for next turn, like what we did with the Lillie's Determination here. We also have another Iono as well in case we need to use that. So Now it's our opponent's turn. They set up perfectly. They have double Charmander plus a Pidgey, so they use the Lillie's Determination as well. They also have a Fire Energy attached to their Toedscool. So one of the huge things that's going for us right now is the fact that we did attack with our Bulbasaur last turn, and notably its attack does retreat lock. So that means that unless they go into a Dusclops, then that Toedscool is staying in the active, so we don't have to worry about a early attack with a Charizard. Here they do play down another Toedscool, and then they just pass. So we are just going to use this Teal Mask, draw another card, we get a third energy, we can put that down on the other Bulbasaur on our bench, and then here we are just going to Lillie's Determination. We find an Ivysaur and we find the Vitality Force. We can go straight into a Mega Venusaur here, and we will be able to move all of the energy up onto that Venusaur and be able to attack, getting rid of the Toedscool and stopping them from being able to do a whole bunch of really strong plays, like going into a Dusclops, being able to pop and potentially knock out something. So here, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are into the Venusaur. They're not going to be able to one-shot this Venusaur since we've only taken one prize, but we do have to be a little bit worried because if they go double rare candy this turn, then there is a chance that they can actually one-shot our Teal Mask. They would have to go double rare candy plus pop a Dusclops to be able to do so. And at that point, you know, they take out the Teal Mask, they get 2 prizes, but then on the crackback, we'd still knock out the Charizard, and they would still just be losing that race. So we do have to be wary a little bit about the prize race because we don't want to stay on this odd curve. If we can get away from it, that would be pretty beneficial, but at the same time, it is a necessary evil because it's stopping them from being able to one-shot later in the game our Mega Venusaur. Here they play down the Fez and they get to draw. They also have the Pidgeot EX, and they do put down that Dusclops, so they have everything getting set up. They use a Night Stretcher, they get back that Charizard EX, they do rare candy into it so that way then they can keep their Charmeleon in the bench. So they find another Night Stretcher next turn, and they'd be able to go straight into a Charizard once again. Here, they pop the Dusclops, they put the 50 on the Venusaur, and out of our prizes, we do get the Regigigas. It can come in this matchup as well as like a really strong attacker for us as well, because Charizard is a Terra-type Pokemon for this specific one. Now, here, they do just promote their Charizard, and they thought that they had enough damage to be able to knock out our Venusaur, but now they're realizing that they didn't. So they are most likely just going to use that Iron Bundle and try to get us to give up the Teal Mask, but we can easily just promote the Bulbasaur, give up the Bulbasaur, and they only take 1 prize this turn, and they basically gave us a free prize as well. So here, that's exactly what they're doing. They're going to do the Iron Bundle. We'll give up this Bulbasaur since we already have a Venusaur established, and you only ever really go into one Venusaur. It heals itself with its attack, so you don't really need to go into multiple copies of it. We just need to make sure that in the very beginning of the game, we get down 2 Bulbasaur, so we have the opportunity of being able to go into one without having to worry about both getting knocked out. Here, we are just going to Artisan. We are going to get down another Chikorita. We will Teal Mask to get an energy down. We find a Lillie's Determination, but we also have double boss in our hand, so we don't really want to give up this hand. And at this point, I'm not thinking that the Regigigas is really necessary, so I'd rather get this Bayleef, be able to get that down, and guarantee that next turn we can get into a Meganium and still take the final knockout that we would need with our Teal Mask. So this is kind of putting them into one of those checkmate scenarios again, and that's kind of what you want to hope for with this deck as well. So here they promote the Pidgeot EX, and they still have the Fez back there, which we can easily one-shot if we get the Meganium down. So now it's just up to what is my opponent going to do this turn? What is the worst thing that they could do at this moment? So the worst thing that they could do here is they could go into Charizard and Iono us while also having a counter catcher to counter catcher up our Teal Mask. And at that point, we would have to be finding... Well, no, we would still be able to just knock it out with Mega Venusaur. So really, there's not that much that they could actually do here. The writing is pretty much on the wall. So here they are using a secret box. So now it's just, what are they going to get? They also used their boss's orders as their supporter for turn, and they brought up the Bayleef, which, I mean, okay, if they want to keep the Bayleef in the active, not knock it out, that means that we actually have to waste some energy, but we have multiple energy still that we can use. We have 2 on our Teal Mask and 1 in our hand that we can easily use to do the retreat, and the retreat cost of the Bayleef was only 2 energy anyway. But they are just going to knock it out with the Pidgeot and hope that I just can't take a knockout because I can only do 240 damage, but we are able to boss up and knock out that Fez for game. Alright, so game number 2 is against the Goldango, and as you can see, our hand isn't really the greatest. Now then, our opponent starts with a Lunatone, and one of the things that you have to worry about in this matchup is their A-Spec right there, that Precious Trolley, because now they get a full bench of everything that they could need. They got the Iron Bundle, they got the Genesect, they got Double Dango, and they got the Solrock to go with it. Solrock can be a very dangerous attacker early game too, so we have to watch out for that. The big thing that is going to determine whether or not we win or lose this matchup is when we play our Toedscruel. So we have to make sure that we have that in the deck. So we saw it during that Bug Catching Set. That means we know that we at least have the stage 1, so as long as we have the stage 2, that's all that we really need. Here we are just going to play down that stadium, even though it's our first turn. And the reason why we do so is just in case we do find all the pieces that we need for next turn, we will have them to be able to put them down. And here our hand is looking much better. We're going to be able to go into a Bayleef plus an Ivysaur and then use a Lillie's Determination again and be able to go into hopefully a Mega Venusaur and a Meganium, and that would actually give us enough to be able to knock out their Genesect if we want to, or just keep the ball rolling. The only issue with that is that they haven't really used any of their energy yet, except for just to draw. So here they are using the Iron Bundle, and we do make a massive mistake here. We put up the Teal Mask because I thought that he already used a supporter, but he is running 2 Turos, so he uses 1 right there just so he can get the Goldango up into the active. And at this point, we're in a very dangerous situation, because if he knocks out this Teal Mask this turn, then he's going to be ahead in the prize race, and there's not really anything that we can do about it. But again, we are just massively waiting out for our Toedscruel, so that way then we can stop him from using those superior energy retrievals later on to actually knock out like our Mega Venusaur. Here, he only does 200 damage, which is huge. That actually means a ton for us, because that means that he's not taking the 2 prizes. We still have that energy on the field, and we do get to get down that Toedscool, and then we use this Bug Catching Set. We could get down another Teal Mask if we wanted to, or just get 2 more grass, and that would give us enough grass just in case we can't get to the Meganium. And here we actually do have the stadium, so we will be able to go straight into a Mega Venusaur. We have to play down the stadium first. And now we can use this Picnic Basket. It does put us to 170. It's not going to mean a lot in this matchup, but it will mean a lot in the final game, so definitely look forward to that. As for what's going on here, we did use that Lillies, we did get down another Teal Mask, we are getting down another Bulbasaur, and I'm thinking about just throwing up that Bulbasaur here. I could have attacked with Mega Venusaur, but that's just risking them taking 3 prizes next turn if they can get the 8 energy that they would need to knock out the Mega Venusaur, and because we don't have a Toedscruel down, I really don't want to risk that. So that's the reason why we throw up the Bulbasaur. We also retreat lock this Goldango, that way then he can't just do a play of like attach a fighting energy to the Solrock, use a boss, and be able to knock out the Toedscool. Instead, he is going to have to use a boss and use some energy out of his hand if he wants to knock out that Toedscool on our bench. Now, we do have the Super Rod, or the Max Rod, in our hand. He does use the boss here, and luckily we do have that Max Rod. So if we can find the missing piece that we need through a top deck, then we can actually get back the Toedscool, put it into the Toedscruel, and be able to do everything that we need. Here we are going to Nest Ball. I'm making sure that the Toedscruel is still in the deck, and making sure on how much energy I still have in the deck as well, which is 2 more copies. So here we are just going to do some draw. We find the Toedscruel off of the first draw. We also get a Ultra Ball, so we would have been able to find it anyway. And I'm thinking about just using this Max Rod real quick, but first we are going to use the Ultra Ball, get down the Meganium. That is going to have us have a complete board completely set up for us. And here I'm thinking about which one to go into, and I make another mistake here. So I see that they have the Soul Rock, but I was so focused in on knocking out this Gholdengo that I made the huge mistake of throwing up the weakened Teal Mask, and that's going to give them free 2 prizes with a 1 prize attacker. So that is a huge mistake. I should have thrown up the healthy Teal Mask, force him to knock it out with one of his Gholdengos instead of being able to just get a free knockout with his Soul Rock. But he also could just have another boss and then knock out the Tail Mask anyway. But if he had another boss, he probably would have just focused down that Toedscruel. So here he is going to put a air balloon onto that Gholdengo in the active. He does get down the Fez, so he is going to be able to draw 3 cards this turn. And it's just a matter of, is he going to find his boss, and is he going to use his boss right now to get rid of that Toedscruel, because it is going to cost him 3 energy. I see that he has quite a few energy in his discard as well, and he's not able to use any of his superior energy retrievals or anything, so this is like the perfect time to have the Toedscruel down. And because of our blunder, he is going to be able to take 2 prizes, going down to only 3 prizes remaining, which is very bad for us because that actually is going to work in his favor near the end of the game, because all he has to do is just knock out the Toedscruel and then knock out a Teal Mask, and that will win him the game. So here we are going to be able to get that free draw, and then I'm just thinking about how I want to attach this energy. We only need 2 energy on the Mega Venusaur in order to attack because we have the Meganium, and then we are going to hit him with the Iono, put him down to just 3 cards. We find a boss's orders, which is huge, but we can't use it this turn, so we are just going to take a single knockout here, which, hindsight being what it is, I probably shouldn't have taken the knockout there. I should have just left that alone in the active. He still would have gotten 3 draw anyway, but it would have cost him an energy to do so rather than just giving him 3 free draws from the Fez. So if you're in that position as well, don't attack with the Mega Venusaur at that point, because we already set him down to 3 cards. We see that he has multiple Gholdengo. There's no reason of giving him 3 extra draws, especially if we have Toedscruel down, because that's just making it that much easier for him to find the energy and the boss that he needs to actually win the game. So here, as you see, even though we put him down to 3, he's already back up to 9 cards in hand in a single turn. Now, he is going to use the Iron Bundle. We throw up the Bulbasaur here, so that way then he would only get a single prize if he's going to take a knockout this turn. And he is going to use Lunatone. He gets to draw 3 more cards, and he does have the boss. He was able to find it off of that Lunatone draw and be able to boss up our Toedscruel, get rid of that, and this is a very dangerous position that we're in. So here I actually make a big mistake, and I did talk with my opponent about it afterwards, and it didn't really matter, but in future games, this is a mistake that I wanted to clarify for you guys, so that way then you guys don't make the same mistake as me. So the mistake here is by promoting the Teal Mask and attacking with it to knock out the Gholdengo. My opponent still has the Fez on the board to get extra draws, and he's still going to be able to see multiple cards next turn, and all he needs is a single superior energy retrieval plus another energy to actually be able to knock out our Teal Mask. So what we should have done instead is actually promoted the Mega Venusaur, used the boss in hand, knocked out the Fez, putting ourselves down to just one prize remaining and forcing our opponent to have Boss plus an energy plus superior energy retrieval in order to knock out a Teal Mask, or have double energy retrieval in order to be able to knock out the Mega Venusaur. Alright, so game number 3, our opponent is starting off with a Klefki. So this is a spicy little take on Pidgeysard that my opponent is running. He was running a couple different spices. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but this Klefki is the one that I was afraid of the most. As for us, we did start with the Wellspring, and we were able to Nest Ball down a Bulbasaur. Now then, the Klefki, the reason why it's dangerous is its ability turns off all basic EX Pokemon from having abilities as long as Klefki is in the active. So that means that our Teal Mask isn't going to be able to accelerate energy like we need. That's the reason why we got the Bulbasaur instead with our Nest Ball. Now then, what we do have as far as our hand is we have an Iono, and that's most likely what we're going to use next turn. And we do have at least one grass energy that we have on our Wellspring. So there's not really a high chance that we're going to be able to use Wellspring next turn to be able to knock out the Klefki plus a Charmander or Klefki plus a Pidgey, but we are going to be able to lock this Klefki into the active, forcing them to have to waste a couple turns to find an answer of moving it. And one of their answers that they have, or actually their only answer, if I remember, is they're running 2 copies of Jet Energy along with their 1 copy of Mist Energy. So here they had to use 1 of their Jet Energy so they could actually do that TM Devo play. So they only have 1 more left in the deck. As for us, we did top deck into that Ivysaur, and then we are going to use that Iono. We get down a second Bulbasaur, and then we use this Bug Catching Set. We find a grass, and then we find the Toedscool. But instead, I'm just going to grab the Ivysaur, because next turn I can put down the Ivysaur on the other Bulbasaur, making it that much easier for us to guarantee that we can get into a Mega Venusaur at some point. And with us having a Lillie's Determination and a Iono, we will have a draw spell to do so next turn. And we pass over to our opponent's turn after locking them with Sob, and they are just going to TM Evo again here after they play down the Charizard EX. So we know that they now have a Charizard in the back line fully set up, and they're just going to take this one last turn. Well, here they actually boss first, and then they will be taking this turn to actually do another TM Evo, so they can get down a Charmeleon and their Pidgeot EX. That way then they are completely set up. Like, this is the perfect setup that they could ever hope for. And as for us, we can throw down this Ivysaur right now, or we can keep this Bulbasaur. We know that we're going to draw with Lillie's Determination, and if we draw only a grass and no Mega Venusaur, then that's kind of what we need, is just a regular Bulbasaur in the active to retreat lock one more time. And here, that's exactly what happened. We didn't draw into the Mega Venusaur, so we are at least able to retreat lock this Klefki, forcing our opponent to have to get a Jet Energy if they are going to get out of this retreat lock. Now, in here, our opponent is going to use the Pidgeot EX and do a quick search. So there's a couple different things that they can grab, but the most important would be that Jet Energy. Instead, they just Lillie's Determination their hand because they're still at 6 cards, so that means that they are able to draw up to 8 cards. As for us, our hand is looking pretty bad. We at least have the Teal Mask that we can get down next turn, and here they actually just hit us for 10 and then pass. So we are just going to get down this Teal Mask, get down the Stadium, and then use the Lillies. And we now have to hope that off this Bug Catching Set that we find a Mega Venusaur. We don't. We find a Grass and a Toedscool. We do have a Nest Ball in our hand. That's why we're just going to grab the Stage 1, the Toedscruel, because we can actually get the Toedscool from the Nest Ball, be able to get down this Toedscruel. It can come in clutch against this deck as well, solely because they do usually run a couple Night Stretchers, so that way then they can get back the Charizard EXs and save their Super Rods for just their energy if need be. So it can turn those off in this matchup. Now in here, we are just going to retreat lock them with the Bulbasaur for another turn, and now they will have to get that Jet Energy so they can finally start attacking. And that's exactly what they do. They get the Jet Energy, they are going to be able to attack with this Charizard, and they use a boss, but neither of us have taken any prizes yet. Notably, I haven't taken a prize, so they're only able to do 180 damage, but their goal at this point was to try to just keep the Teal Mask in the active, so that way then they can take the knockout next turn. But here we actually Iono them, and then we find the Meganium. We do use the Bug Catching Set, which finds us the Mega Venusaur finally, and we are just going to be able to move some energy around. Now, and there's a couple different things that I can do here. I could just swing with this Teal Mask, get the value out of it, or I can retreat it back to the bench and be able to use this Mega Venusaur. I'll throw all the energy onto the Mega Venusaur, so that way then I don't have any risk of losing any of my energy off the bench. And because if they do decide to boss up the Meganium and take it out instead, then we at least have 3 energy already on the Venusaur, and we have 1 energy in hand now that we can actually attach to it as well. We also have the Meganium line in our hand again that we can throw down just in case they do knock out that Meganium. Here, they now are completely on the back foot. We've finally taken the first 2 prizes of the game. They finally get down double Toedscool, and that is going to be a big worry for me because they did do all of that damage to our Teal Mask on their previous turn, meaning if they ever get down a Dusclops, they can actually knock out the Teal Mask and take 2 prizes, giving them 2 extra cards in their hand to actually potentially win the game if they can find the right sequence that they need. Here they have the Counter Catcher. They are going after the Meganium instead of the Teal Mask because they know that they can just pop a Dusclops at some point and be able to get rid of our Teal Mask. So here they are just going to knock out the Meganium with the Zard. Luckily, we did draw into some energy from that Iono that they played, and we got the Picnic Basket. So this is what I mean by this Picnic Basket basically won us the game. Because at this point, they don't have another Charmander set up on the field. Instead, they have double Toedscool. So we're going to get down another Teal Mask. We're going to be able to draw a extra card here, and then we're going to use this Picnic Basket, notably moving the Teal Mask just down to only 60 HP remaining, but we're able to do enough damage to knock out this Charizard. And what that means is that our opponent now has no Charizard for next turn, and they don't really have an easy way of taking all 5 prizes next turn either. Now, we have a easy way of taking all 5 prizes next turn. Because we're running the Wellspring, there's a easy way of doing it. What we can do is we can actually retreat the Mega Venusaur into the Wellspring, use Mega Venusaur's effect to move the 1 grass that's still on our Teal Mask, put that onto our Wellspring, and then manually attach this grass from our hand to the Wellspring, where we'll be able to knock out the Klefki and knock out one of the other basics on the bench, taking 2 prizes in that single swing. So that is what we are setting up for right now. And our opponent doesn't really have a way of answering that. So they would have to really have a good hand here, and they don't really have that. So they're trying to get as many cards as they can to try to draw out of this, but they pretty much know that the game is over. So now you guys know what the combo is going to be for us. I'm just going to let the rest of the game play out without talking so you guys can actually enjoy the final ending of this match. Here are my final thoughts after week 1 with Mega Venusaur. The deck feels amazing, most matchups feel winnable, and you almost always have a clear path to victory. There are a couple of tough matchups like Goldango and Poltnor, but since this is still a new deck, there's plenty of time to experiment and find techs and strategies to handle those decks. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Meta Mondays, Rogue Thursdays, and my 1 month 1 deck series every Saturday.